Unit testing. Let's continue our talk about enhancing programming practices. Unit testing is performed by the programmer against his own freshly written code. Unit testing is extremely important because it's directly connected with the concept of the bug cost. Let's make a quick stop and talk about this very important QA concept. Quick stop, a concept of the bug cost. The term cost of the bug has two meanings. Meaning number one, expenses required to find and fix the bug before the release. These expenses can be calculated. Meaning number two, damage to the business plus expenses to fix the bug because the bug was found after the release. As a rule, it's extremely hard to calculate the exact monetary amount of the damage to the business. Here is meaning number one explained. If the bug was embedded in the spec and the code was written with the bug, but the bug was discovered by the testers, the bug's cost might be calculated like this. Cost 1, hourly pay of PM multiplied by number of hours spent on the buggy part of the spec, plus Cost 2, hourly pay of the programmer multiplied by number of hours spent coding the buggy part of the spec, plus Cost 3, hourly pay of the tester multiplied by number of hours spent for test preps, including test case generation and testing of the buggy code, plus Cost 4, similarly calculated costs of spec fixing, bug fixing, test case creation modification, and testing of the fix, plus Cost 5, other possible expenses, for example, expenses that might occur if release date slips. As you can see, it's possible to approximately calculate cost of a bug found before a product's release. There are three important conclusions here. 1. The earlier the bug is found, the cheaper it is for the company. This is the main conclusion. 2. The quality of the PM's work is critical because it takes place before coding and testing. In our example, if the spec had been bug-free, then Cost 1 to Cost 5 inclusively would not have occurred. 3. It's good to find bugs before the release, but it's much better and cheaper for the company if bugs are prevented from happening in the first place. That's why we spend so much time talking about QA, which is focused on bug prevention. Here is meaning number 2 explained. If the spec bug wasn't found before the release, then the bug cost is calculated like this. Damage 1. Cost 1 to Cost 5 inclusively from meaning number 1 plus. Damage 2, time spent by customer support to calm down users. Damage 3, monetary compensation to users and business partners. Damage 4, loss of profits. Damage 5, lawsuits against the company. Damage 6, forever lost users and business partners. Damage 7, miscellaneous other negative consequences. This is just an example. In each case, the damages can vary from 15 minutes spent by company workers to fix, test, and release the bug fix, to an extreme situation where the company's business is completely ruined. As you can see, it's really hard to calculate an exact cost of a bug release to users. Please understand that we are not playing games here. Companies around the world lose tens of billions of dollars annually because of poor software quality. The main conclusion here is that software companies must regard QA and testing as self-preservation mechanisms. Let's get back to unit testing. Here are two ideas. Idea 1. Unit tests should be created before the code is written. Then, when the programmer gets a new spec for coding, he doesn't rush in to start coding, but first creates the code design document and the unit test document. The beauty of this approach is, first, when the programmer abstracts himself from hands-on coding, he has more intellectual resources to think about the big picture. This way, the programmer gives himself a chance to predict and hence prevent mistakes in the future code. Second, the programmer will have to imagine how he will test his code, and that how will stick in his brain like a splinter. This way, the programmer will have a quality guard in his brain to monitor programming activities and thus prevent and catch bugs. Idea 2. Rules about unit testing must be formalized in unit test standards. For example, there should be at least one test case for each Python function. 8. Smart refactoring. Every software engineer knows about cases where perfectly working code becomes a nightmare after somebody tries to improve it. The situation usually happens when a major chunk of the code is already written and released. Users are enjoying our product and we can relax a bit from the craziness of the early startup days. So a developer is asked by his manager to do a refactoring. 1. Look at the old working code. 2. Find room for improvements. And 3. Implement those improvements. And here comes the pain. Example. John and VJ have just completed the testing of new functionalities and are going to spend 2 days testing old functionalities. As you remember, this kind of testing is called regression testing. They've executed test cases for regression testing many times for previous releases and usually discover very few bugs. They start testing and 2 minutes later they simultaneously shout, "What is going on?" The reason is that the state of the old functionalities reminds us of a fine porcelain shop right after an elephant's visit. Everything is broken. After investigation, they find out there was a small project to rewrite several pieces of old code with the purpose of improving it. The improvements resulted in unusable software, but thanks to the regression testing, we have uncovered the sad state of our software before releasing it to our customers. Situations like the above happen in software companies over and over again. So why should programmers think twice before changing an old code just to improve it? The reason is simple. The old code is usually part of the software foundation in which many pieces of old code and newer code have been heavily integrated, thus creating a complex net of dependencies. So when we shake this foundation as a rule, we simply cannot predict which part of the application is going to be affected. That's why even a simple change in the old working code can have major negative consequences in totally unexpected parts of the software. This kind of effect is called unintended consequences. Unintended consequences during a code change are the major reason we need regression testing. So remember that it is usually a bad idea to change working code just to improve it. Simply put, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. 9. Love thy employees, a Google story. It's really simple. Management should take care of people. Without this kind of attitude, Google would have been a smart search algorithm, nothing more. But because founders Sergey Brin and Larry Page built their company on the principle it's all about the people, Google is the most successful company in the history of software. Here are some of the things available to Google employees at Google's Mountain View, California campus. Most of these things are free. 11 gourmet cafeterias. Laundry, dry cleaning, oil changes, car wash, gym, exercise classes, massage, Mandarin, Japanese, Spanish, and French classes, personal concierge to arrange dinner reservations, a hairstylist, $5,000 towards environmentally friendly cars, $500 in takeout food for new parents for the first month at home, 5 on-site doctors, Wi-Fi enabled shuttles from 5 Bay Area locations, breast pumps for nursing moms, heated toilet seats, and the requirement to spend 20% of the work time for dream projects. I should also mention that all pre-IPO employees of Google became millionaires, and several $100,000 is a possible bonus for a successful project. Here's what any startup can do even without Google's resources. Pay bonuses for successful projects. Even $1,000 is better than a moneyless "good job, man." Provide free lunches. Provide free soda and bottled water. Provide free snacks. Reward with gift certificates or concert tickets. Give Christmas gifts like jackets with the company logo. Organize paintball parties, hiking or rafting trips. Give promotions to those who deserve it. Pay for memberships to a nearby gym. There are many options, and every dollar spent on employees can turn into hundreds of dollars because people are basically good, and we do work better in exchange for management taking better care of us. 10. Business philosophy. Management must make sure that everyone at the company understands that quality and happiness of users are not just abstract concepts, but rather the way to success for a company, and hence a way to personal success for everyone who works for the company. If managers make fun of quality measures and make jokes about users, even during an informal chat, it does real harm to the internal morale of the company. And in the end, there will be negative consequences for the company as a whole, and hence for those humorists in particular. Users know whether or not they are respected after a single error message, email from the company, or call to customer support. And if the real philosophy inside the company is, "Our customers are stupid," then that philosophy will sooner or later be evident to the customers too. Of course, this will be great news for that company's competitors. Our users are real people. They should not be perceived as a faceless crowd, but rather as friends who trust us and appreciate our work. Lesson recap. 1. Bug cost has two meanings. A. Cost to find and fix a bug before release. B. Damage to business plus bug fixing costs if bug was found after release. 2. The sooner a bug is found, the cheaper it is to fix it. 3. Bugs found after release can completely ruin company business. 4. QA and testing are self-preservation mechanisms of a software company. 5. Unit testing is performed by a developer, and it's a good idea to write unit tests before the software is written. 6. Software companies should have unit test standards. 7. Refactoring, rewriting of old code, is dangerous and should be implemented only if necessary. The old code is often a foundation of the company's software, and hence there are many dependencies that the developer might not be aware of. 8. Regression testing allows to discover mistakes made during refactoring and, in general, newly introduced bugs in old code. 9. You can attract and keep good employees only if you take good care of them. 10. Customers should be respected, and respect should be reflected in many things: error messages, customer support, etc.